MAGA Trump voters find Vladimir Putin to be a better leader than Joe Biden.
Donald Trump, the convicted felon, has just had another major cognitive crash. This time he was in Wisconsin delivering a speech that many have called a hilarious disaster. From fake crowds to terrible speeches, Donald Trump can't seem to catch his breath. Thankfully, Jordan Klepper from The Daily Show didn't hold back in destroying both Trump and his diehard MAGA supporters. But before we get into that, let's debunk some of Trump's false and idiotic claims at yesterday's Wisconsin rally.
I was the one that picked it. These lying people that they say, oh, he doesn't like Milwaukee. I love Milwaukee. I said, you got to fix the crime. We all know that. You got to make sure the election's honest.
Let us not forget that Trump has a history of criticizing cities that don't fit with his narrative. Despite his claims that he loves and personally chose Milwaukee, this newfound fondness for Milwaukee is simply another ploy to sway voters in his favor. Speaking about fixing crime and ensuring honest elections is so ironic given that his administration has a history of sowing discord and disorder. In fact, it has come to light that he secretly despises Milwaukee after calling it a horrible city a few days ago. The mayor of Milwaukee wasted no time responding to his silly comments. In TV 2, it seems everyone is slowly starting to catch on to Trump's lies and manipulation.
Donald Trump wants to talk about things that he thinks are horrible. All of us lived through his presidency, so right back at you, buddy. And it appears that that Donald Trump just does not like cities. And these urban challenges are not unique to Milwaukee. They exist in cities all across the United States. But I'm proud to say that in Milwaukee, we're making progress.
The classic Trump strategy of attacking opponents with baseless insults is back in full swing. Someone who has been fact-checked numerous times for spreading false information has the audacity to call Democrats radical left lunatics and accuse them of lying. Assaulting others with the same crimes he has committed is a prime example of projection. His most recent remarks regarding crowd sizes and Milwaukee being a horrible city only add to his long list of lies.
But I'm the one that picked Milwaukee, and the Democrats, or the radical left lunatics as I call them, what they say is just so terrible. They lie. They have a horrible candidate. They have a candidate that has no clue, doesn't know where he is, and all they can do is lie.
Trump never lets a chance go by to inflate figures in order to satisfy his sensitive ego. In reality, attendance at his rallies has been declining, a reflection of growing disenchantment among his base. Claiming success in Wisconsin is premature at best, given his unstable rhetoric and policies that have alienated many voters.
We've had great success here. It's great to be back in this beautiful state with thousands and thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots. What a crowd. What a crowd. With your help, 5 months from now, we're going to win Wisconsin.
Trump is attacking Senator Tammy Baldwin with illogical and vague charges as usual. The statement nobody even knows she's a senator is completely false. Baldwin, a vocal advocate of Wisconsin, is loved by the masses. The fact that Trump is so desperate and has nothing substantial to criticize shows in his efforts to discredit her.
We're going to defeat your radical left Democrat senator, one of the worst in the Senate. Nobody even knows she's a senator. I mean, frankly, she's not doing a good job representing. We have somebody that's going to be great. But we're going to defeat your Senator Tammy Baldwin.
It is frightening to see Trump flaunting his relationship with Russia. This is the same Russia that has declared the United States an enemy and engaged in countless cyber attacks directed against us. Trump's readiness to exalt Putin and minimize these dangers reveals where his actual allegiance lies. Jordan Klepper was quick to point this out in a recent interview that he did.
They say we have problems from the outside and problems from within, and I really believe that you have a smart president. I had no problem with China. I had no problem with Russia.
Klepper's dark humor highlights the grim reality of Putin's regime. It is glaringly obvious what Trump and his supporters want when they praise a leader with a reputation for stifling press freedom and repressing opposition. This is not the America that upholds freedom and justice. This is a dangerous flirtation with tyranny.
I would like to see America be more like Russia.
What do you like about Vladimir Putin?
I used to watch his videos, horseback riding back in the day.
What's happening in Russia is basically a Republican wet dream.
He's he's well-mannered.
Putin is well-mannered, right? Absolutely. He knows where the fork goes, where the knife goes, which window the journalist goes out of.
Klepper's observations draw attention to a concerning GOP change. The party that once championed Reagan's tough stance against Russia is now idolizing Putin. This reversal, which turns party values to fit Trump's autocratic inclination, is evidence of his impact. This is a risky game, endangering American democracy.
Jordan Klepper joins me now. You were saying that as a joke. He did not take it as a joke.
Sometimes humor lands differently in the middle of America at a MAGA event.
Yeah, I mean, there's this tough guy obsession, I guess, with Vladimir Putin. Did you learn anything about where this comes from?
You know, it's really interesting. I think we noticed when we started going out to rallies that Vladimir Putin was somebody that was avoided for a while, but over the last handful of months, his name kept coming up over and over again, especially after the Tucker Carlson interview. People were lauding Vladimir Putin, and not only what he did for Russia, does for Russia, how Russia looks. Like, Russia became suddenly this gold star for a lot of MAGA folks, which frankly shocked us. This wasn't the party Reagan that we were taught to believe, that Russia is something to be emulated.
Though this is the reality of Trump's America, Phillips is right to be shocked. His supporters have been so fully brainwashed that they now consider Russia, a nation that publicly rejects American values, to be better. Trump's constant assault on American institutions and his support of authoritarian governments directly lead to this distorted viewpoint.
It's like, isn't this great? But it is surprising a little bit to me that has penetrated to the average, I guess, Trump-supporting voter, that very clear message of Russia is better than the United States, that's a little surprising.
Care gets its spot on the MAGA audience's taste for Putin over Biden goes beyond mere political posture. It's a rejection of American values. Trump's respect of strongman strategies has crept into his base, where today they find control and oppression as ideal qualities. This change is un-American as well as hazardous. We have to be alert against this wave of totalitarianism and keep the democratic principles that really define America strong.
You'd be surprised how powerful sniffing a ciabatta roll is. There was a stat that we read that over 50% of MAGA Trump voters find Vladimir Putin to be a better leader than Joe Biden. And so there is some of this where choosing Vladimir Putin is just a neg against Joe Biden. And whenever they can take a neg against Joe Biden, they do it. But there's also this element of Trump loving the strong man. We see there's that. Putin also loves to be anti-woke, anti-LGBTQ, anti-journalists in a way that speaks to this Republican base. And that was something we found compelling. Is this just a group of useful idiots being manipulated by Vladimir Putin? Or is there an actual affection there and an allyship that people are yearning?
Now we gather due to a selfish man's injured pride and the outrage of supporters who he has deliberately misinformed for the past 2 months and stirred to action this very morning. What happened here today was an insurrection incited by the President of the United States.
Here's the thing. I would say that perhaps no one appears on the Epstein list more than Donald Trump. I would venture to say no one was, in my opinion, as close as friends to Epstein as Donald Trump was.
Those who choose to continue to support his dangerous gambit by objecting to the results of a legitimate democratic election will forever be seen as being complicit in an unprecedented attack against our democracy.
That Donald Trump and Epstein partied together all of the time. Let's just go through the facts. Donald Trump was on Epstein's flight logs at least 7 times. Here are the receipts, straight from the court records in the Ghislaine Maxwell case. Take a look at the receipts. Also, Jeffrey Epstein rode on Donald Trump's plane.
And of course, there's always more. Stop me if you heard someone accused of being a racist before saying this. He said he has many black friends. That's his defense when asked how he responds to black voters or others who call him a racist. This is what he told Semaphore in an interview out today. Quote, "I have so many black friends that if I were a racist, they wouldn't be my friends. They would know better than anybody in FAST." We're back with the Rev and Andrew. Rev, I'll ask you 2 questions. 1, how do we process this? And 2, how do we cover this?
It is also not the place for any exhibition of male ego by anyone other than Donald Trump. And it is impossible to overstate just how peculiar that is, as our first guest tonight, the first woman Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, can attest.
And this article from New York Magazine quoted people who were there as saying, remembering the time Jeffrey Epstein rode on Donald Trump's plane, they did board with a young woman of indeterminate age. I wouldn't be able to tell if she was 15 or 20. She was quite dressed up and quite made up, so it was hard to tell.
I think that we cover it by the record. I think that we should not bite the bait of having to prove Donald Trump is a racist. I think clearly I've known Donald Trump. I've marched on him, and then he tried to be friendly. He's come to my convention. I believe he's a racist, but that's not what we have to prove. Just look at his record. He is always race-baited.
There are many forces that make the wheels of power turn in Washington. Political convenience, policy goals sometimes, ambition. But throughout the history of the Republic, there has been no force more consistent than male ego.
Here's a direct quote from Donald Trump about Jeffrey Epstein in 2002. Trump told New York Magazine, quote, "I've known Jeff for 15 years, terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side."
He started with the Central Park five innocent young men in New York. He called for the death penalty. Well, has he ever called for the death penalty for anybody else? His political career started by saying a black man was not a real American. He was born in Kenya.
And so one of the most fascinating things to observe in the Republican senators' public adoration of Donald Trump is the complete and utter collapse of male ego in a place that used to be run on the fuel of male ego. The oldest senator, 90-year-old Chuck Grassley, was in the meeting with Donald Trump today.
Here's Donald Trump on audio recording bragging about how he would inspect teenage girls naked. On audio recording, it's his own words saying it. Play this clip.
Well, you could also say, as the owner of the pageant, it's your obligation to do that.
So you have done that. Now,
I'll tell you the funniest is that I'll go backstage before a show.
Yes.
And everyone's getting dressed and ready and everything else. And, no men are anywhere. And I'm allowed to go in because I'm the owner of the pageant, and therefore I'm inspecting it. I'm inspecting. Right, I want to make sure that
like
everything is good.
You're there.
Yeah, the dress. Is everyone okay? They're standing there with no clothes. Is everybody okay? And you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things.
Has he questioned even Joe Biden's birthplace? I mean, everything about race, he's always race-baited against blacks. So all you got to do is look at his record. And I've said to any of those that support him, show me where he was on the right side of any race issue. We forget. This is the man that said when we saw the march in Charlottesville, where they were saying things to protect a Confederate statue, Robert E. Lee.
When I was working in the Senate, Chuck Grassley had a rough-edged ego that was often activated as a cover for his chronic ignorance. The ignorance has expanded, and the ego of Chuck Grassley has evaporated.
Here's Donald Trump on an audio recording talking about Lindsay Lohan. I think she was 17 at this time. At most, she was 18 years old at this time. And Donald Trump talks about having sex with her. It's disgusting. And says that how he would want to do that because he thinks that she was mentally unwell and that would be better.
And saying anti-Semitic things. He said there are 5 people on both sides. He was the president, sitting in the White House, president, during George Floyd, probably the biggest race case of our time. What did he say about George Floyd? Oh, I'm sorry. He had them clear the protesters from in front of the church, held up a Bible, and condemned the protesters. Never even tried to say anything about police reform. And I don't believe everybody that votes for him is a racist. But I believe every racist votes for Donald Trump.
The first debate between Trump and President Biden is scheduled to happen a week from Thursday on CNN, and the gang at Fox News is hard at work coming up with an excuse for if Biden does well at the debate. After spending the past 2 nights peddling a very misleading clip that claims to show Biden freezing up, Sean Hannity's now back to the if Trump loses the debate, it's because Biden's on drugs routine.
Donald Trump attacked Senator Cruz's father, lied about Senator Cruz's father being involved in the assassination of President Kennedy. Donald Trump attacked Senator Cruz's wife, Heidi. Donald Trump ridiculed the way she looks. And here is what the outraged candidate for president, Senator Cruz, said about that then.
The Joe Biden that we're talking about tonight, I don't think will be the Joe Biden we're going to see on debate night. I think the Joe Biden we see on debate night is going to be the guy that we saw at the State of the Union. He's going to be all hyped up, hyper caffeinated, whatever it is.
I could keep on going. I think everybody gets the point. This man is sick. This man is disgusting. He's a convicted felon. He's been determined by a jury to have sexually assaulted women.
Donald, you're a sniveling coward, and leave Heidi the hell alone.
Donald Trump alleges that my dad was involved in assassinating JFK. Now, let's be clear. This is nuts.
And there was Senator Cruz today in that lineup of utterly egoless Republican men craving their moment with Donald Trump, craving a possible handshake or a possible pat on the back or a wink or a smile, a glance, anything from Donald Trump.
It's interesting that 70% of the country does like the idea of drug testing. I like the idea. They do it to athletes. They do it to horses in horse racing. Why not do it to presidential candidates? I like the idea.
I like it too. I think it makes perfect sense. Let's do it. Let's test the president for caffeine. Let's test Trump for Adderall and Cialis. Let's see how the tests come out. This
shouldn't even be our politics. That he's the leader of the Republican Party. I don't care what politics you have. This is not about politics. This is a sick and disgusting, horrible human being, Donald Trump.
Who in the world is buying this idea that there's some magic debate pill you can take that makes you... If there is, I would like one because it sounds great. It's all nuts. It's just all nuttiness. Somehow, though, both sides have signed off on the terms of the debate, which seemed like it would be impossible.
Watch now, Senator Cruz crave that moment after Donald Trump